Good morning everyone, today we're going to be talking about the Braver, both the Katana as well as the bow. But first of all, if you're new to the channel, I upload PSO2 content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So the very first thing I want to talk about is the skill tree. So you want 1 point in this, 1 point here, and for the Brave Combat Short Cycle, you only want 3 points in this. This is mathematically or ratio the best, most bang for your buck or something along those lines. So just put 3 points in this. However, if you don't want any of these 3 abilities over here, so Rest Effect Amplifier, Break, Fall, HP Gain, or Mighty Guard, feel free to max this out if you want. Then we're going to max out the Brave Combat Final Bonus, max all of these out over here, and you're good to go. However, you still have 2 more points, so you could put 1 in Mighty Guard and 1 in Fall, Break, HP Gain. So why should you even bother putting 1 point in Break, Fall, HP Gain? Well, actually, it complements your weapon really well. So if you're like me and you are using a Forces weapon, you'll notice over here Bastion unit creates a barrier that provides damage resistance plus 50% when at max HP. So when you get hit by something, you take 50% less damage. However, the barrier will break because you're not at max HP anymore. However, the moment that you jump back up, you recover 10% of your maximum HP, which usually brings you back to full HP, which will re-proc the Bastion unit passive, and that way you will constantly have that shield, and that's why that ability is kind of useful. However, it is only useful if you're using a Forces Katana. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is subclasses. I prefer subclass Force because as a Katana Braver, I am always running out of PP, and the Force gives you a ton of PP. So we go to Learn Class Skills, Force over here. We can take PP conversion if you want. However, I like to max out PP recovery boost over here, and this is the one that's super important, is Eradication PP Gain. It's whenever you kill an enemy, you get some PP back. Now, if you want, you can also max out PP conversion as well as PP conversion increase if you want. I personally don't take it, mainly because of the weapon. You know, this will put me out of max HP, and so I just don't put any points in that. So technically I only put 11 points, so I have 9 points remaining, which I don't invest into anything, and I just play like this. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about are the Photon Arts. So you've got your normal attack, you've got your weapon action, and then you've got Silverleaf Storm, Iris Gale, and Lotus Lightning. So as I said in yesterday's video, I personally just spam Iris Gale for AoE, so mob clearing, and Lotus Lightning for single target damage. However, something that I did not talk about was Silverleaf Storm can be used as a filler PA in order to get to the higher level versions of Iris Gale and Lotus Lightning. So let's say that we want to get to level 3 Iris Gale. I'm going to cast Iris Gale 3 times, and you're going to see that it's going to cost me 60 PP. You see 1, 2, and 3. So it cost me 60 PP to get to the 3rd charge, which dealt the most amount of damage. However, what I can do to be more PP efficient is cast Silverleaf Storm twice into the Iris Gale. That way it's only going to cost me 26 PP plus 20, which is actually saving me quite a bit. So we're going to see right here, it's Silverleaf Storm into Iris Gale. You see that? I immediately go into the 3rd version of Iris Gale, or the 3rd charge. And so you can use Silverleaf Storm as like a filler PA. Now it also moves you forward a little bit, so you could use this as a pseudo gap closer. I personally don't use it as a gap closer though. The main reason for that is because over here I have Brave Combat. And when Brave Combat is activated, all of your auto attacks automatically gap close. Now the gap closer is very short distance, so it's not like base PSO2 where you can just fly across the map as long as you're locked onto something. Unfortunately, you have to be relatively close. It's about the same distance as your Bujin attack. So this is Lotus Lightning. You see that distance over there? So your range is about the same. You need to be around this distance away from the enemy in order to gap close with Brave Combat activated. Alright, now speaking about Lotus Lightning, this is your hardest hitting attack, and it actually costs less than Iris Gale. It only costs 18 PP, but this is very, very powerful. This is basically when an enemy is down and their weak spot is exposed, you cast this over and over and over, and then you just tear them to shreds. Now you can use Silverleaf Storm twice into the Lotus Lightning if you want to save a little bit more PP, to be a little bit more PP efficient. However, my monkey brain doesn't accept that, and I just hold down the button and I go brr. Okay, so we can see this is a single target, so we don't need Iris Gale, but we don't need AoE. You can use a Wired Lance, it will help you a ton in your gap closing things, and then boom, you just cast your single target stuff. You can counter here if you want, and more single target. I like to lock onto the target. I feel like locking onto the target makes your life a lot easier, and that's it. That's really it. You can literally just hold down the button if you want, if you're super lazy and casual. However, just keep in mind you will not be taking advantage of Fearless Attitude if you just hold down the button. Because if you hold down the button, you don't actually sheath your katana fully, which creates the Fearless Attitude shield, which allows you to auto counter. So look, if I'm just holding down auto attacks, you see there is no frontal 180 shield around me until I stop auto attacking, then the shield appears. Because only when I stop auto attacking do I put the sword in the sheath, which allows me to activate Fearless Attitude, alright? So if you are going try hard with the Katana Braver, then what you want to do is you want to time your different attacks and your different PAs, and it's really going to test your knowledge on the enemy's rotations, because keep in mind that the counter does not automatically activate the moment you attack. It's when you put the katana in the sheath, so it's more like a 0.5 second delay. Especially with Photon Arts, which are a lot slower, you have to wait till you put the katana in the sheath before you get to counter, okay? So another thing is you can string in counters with your Photon Arts, because the Photon Arts gives you a short window while that shield is up. You can still move on to the next level or the next stage of that Photon Art. So if I just hold down the button, we can cycle through all 3 charges very easily. So you can see right here, 1, 2, and 3, right? However, you can stagger the charges and have counters in between every single charge if you're good enough at the game and you just know the enemy rotation that well. Because look, you do first one, while you have the shield, you can still move on to the next charge. So as long as that shield is still up, that is the duration that you have before you need to cast the same PA again or a different PA. So what do I mean by a different PA? You can actually start with Iris Gale, move to Silver Leaf Storm, and then move back to Iris Gale to get the level 3 version of Iris Gale. And you can mix and match any of these 3 PAs in any order you want. So for example, let's go Iris Gale into Silver Leaf into Iris Gale again. You see, we get to the level 3 Iris Gale. And let's say you don't want that, you want Iris Gale into Silver Leaf times 2. You can do that as well, and boom, you see that's the level 3 Silver Leaf. And so you can just interweave all your different PAs and experiment and see whatever works for you, okay? And last but not least, don't forget about Brave Combat. Brave Combat will allow you to reduce your PP cost by 20% on all of your PAs, which is super duper nice, and also gives you more PP recovery when you auto attack, which is also pretty good. So basically what you want to do with Brave Combat is you want to activate it. However, you also want to end it before the duration ends. So look, I'm going to press 4 and pay attention to Brave Combat. Now I've got 20 seconds of Brave Combat, right? And you're going to see that all of my PP things or all of my skills cost less PP, as well as my auto attacks over here will also gap close. So if we look over here, I'm locked here. I can gap close to it pretty easily. It's very nice. However, make sure that before it ends, so I've got 2 seconds, 1 second, I have to press it again in order to do that anime sheath and get that 180-degree damage bonus thing, all right? And on top of that, it also recovers your HP as well as PP when you end Brave Combat. So it's really important that you do need to understand how Brave Combat works and that you have to end it. You have to press it again before the timer runs out or before it expires. Because if it expires, then you don't get the finisher, you don't get the Brave Combat finisher, which means you miss out on that like 1,800 damage-ish, right? And at higher levels or with better gear, you're going to be dealing even more damage for sure. Okay, all right, so the next thing that we're going to be talking about is of course the bow. So the bow is actually really fun, so let's talk about the PAs. So as usual, the bow has normal attack, weapon action, you've got flex arrow, frenzy firework, as well as dimensional ray. So the first Photon Art is flex arrow. This has 3 different charges. You've got your tap, so you just tap it and you just shoot an arrow. You've got your charge level 1, so you glow purple once, and you've got your charge level 2, where you go super crazy pose and you're like, you know, yeah, super crazy shot. Now when you're in the 3rd charge, you cannot move, all right? So during no charge, you can still move. During the 2nd charge, you can still move. However, the 3rd charge will make you immobile and you can fire a gigantic piercing arrow, and that's how it works, okay? Frenzied Firework is not a PA I like very much, but the uncharged version is you shoot a arrow, it hits the target, it explodes around that target. The 2nd charge version just explodes like a shotgun in front of you like that. So basically, close range, point blank range, you use the charge one, boom, shotgun effect in front of enemy, deal tons of damage. However, I personally don't like it because it puts you in harm's way and it's risky. And last but not least, we've got Dimensional Ray. Dimensional Ray is actually one of my favorites. When you do a charged version, you shoot the arrow into the sky, and then you get these two little ribbon things that float around you, which gives you 5 charges of extra dimensional arrow damage whenever you cast a PA which hits an enemy. The uncharged version is simply you just shoot up into the sky and then it does AoE around a specific area where the enemies are. Now this circle does not move, so it's only good against mobs which are immobile, so just keep that in mind, alright? So your regular rotation against an enemy is you're going to start off with the charged dimensional shot because that doesn't actually hit the enemy. You're going to walk up to the enemy, lock onto the part, use the regular dimensional thing, and then you can just dodge if you want with the weapon action, and you're going to use charge shot into weapon action. Charge shot, weapon action. Charge shot, weapon action. And you're just gonna rip them to shreds really quickly because of that. And you can even just tap the flex arrow if you want. However, I like to use the level 1 charge before doing it. And if you need PP, then you can just auto attack normally like this. However, keep in mind the weapon action actually gives you PP. So you can just weave in with, you know, flex arrow, weapon action, flex arrow, weapon action, flex arrow, weapon action. Do keep in mind when you click the weapon action, you do need to hold down a directional key, alright? If you just press weapon action, nothing's gonna happen. You actually have to hold down a direction, so you know, for me it's gonna be the left side or the right side, and that is how you get the extra shot, right? Another thing is when the enemy's about to hit you and you do a weapon action, you actually do a really cool thing and you can just auto attack in order to summon those dimensional things, which is really cool. So you can see those dimensional arrows, and that is simply with your dodge. You just need to tap the weapon action and then auto attack, and that happens, you know, it just summons them. Really cool. Now last but not least, we got to talk about Brave Combat. It does the exact same thing with the bow. It's going to make all of your PAs cost less PP, and you're going to generate more PP with your auto attacks. However, bow doesn't have PP consumption issues compared to Katana, so it's not that big of a deal, but the ending of Brave Combat with the bow is so good. So first of all, again, we're going to use the charged dimensional arrow into the regular dimensional arrow, into Brave Combat, into let's dodge all these attacks. Then we're just going to use piercing shot or flex arrow with the weapon action. Boom, that's destroyed. And we are going to do one more and let's end it. Bam. Remember, it's an iframe for the entire duration, and boom, we did 800 damage there. It was alright, I guess, but I'm pretty sure we could do much more damage normally. And there we go, we killed him very quickly. Now there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is the Brave Combat Final bonus. So you can see over here that we put 5 points into Brave Combat Final bonus, which will actually give you back HP as well as PP. However, what determines the amount of HP and the amount of PP that you get back is based off the number of attacks that you do while you are in Brave Combat. So if you put 5 points into Brave Combat Final bonus, you can see over here for every single hit that you do with either your bow or your katana, you will gain 0.3% HP back as well as 1% of your maximum PP back. So at the maximum, at 100 hits, you'll get 30% of your HP back and 100% of your PP back. So this is why Brave Combat is so powerful. Let's say that the boss is downed, you activate Brave Combat, you burn through all of your PP, you end Brave Combat, you deal the 1800 damage or whatever big PP number that it deals, but you also get back all of your PP. Let's say that if you did hit 100 times within the 20-second time frame, you get back 100% of your PP so that you can continue to spam a ton. This complements the Katana Braver very well because the more PP you have, the more Photon Arts you can cast, the more damage you get, and when you activate Brave Combat, you hit 100 times, you get 100% of your PP back because it's based off percentage, it's not a flat amount of PP. So let's say that you're crazy and you have 200 PP. You hit them 100 times, you get 200 PP back. It's freaking amazing. Alright, now for the bow, it's not as amazing because you don't really have PP problems, but maybe this gives you the opportunity to spam a bunch of PAs in order to get a huge spike in damage. You know, you could take that into consideration. Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again. But anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye!
Can I say except you're welcome?